but there's fasting is a wonderful tool for helping us age better. And then one of the other thing about food is that loneliness is becoming an epidemic. So especially through COVID and our fears, and as we age, and for people especially who are chronically unwell, they don't want to leave their home, they don't get sunlight, they're isolated, and it starts to breed. So there's chronic illness. People who have chronic illness tend to be lonely, but loneliness breeds chronic illness. So it's a two-way street. But what food does sometimes, the other role of food and diversity of food is it brings people together. It gives purpose when you're making food, especially if you're making food for someone else. And it adds color and variety, and it adds, some happiness when you start to look at different colors, different seasonal things, potluck concept, it helps that other big factor, which is cause one of the causes of chronic illness is loneliness, and it kind of offsets some of that too. Um, so now I'm going to get to the rest part. So the rest and digest of the parasympathetic system is one part of it is sleep. Can't say enough about sleep. It is something that I have obsessed about, and usually I start with this aspect with most of my patients, because if we're not sleeping, it is affecting everything. It's affecting the way we remember things. It is affecting our blood pressure, our heart rate, our sugar control, our hormones. And one of the biggest things it does is it helps us detoxify. So it helps those toxins, which are in our mind, remember, neurodegenerative diseases are going up. A big part of that are toxin related illness, whether it's memory loss or Parkinson's, into the brain. And we want to detox these things out of our body. Where does that happen? That happens in our sleep. So if we do not sleep enough, we're not detoxifying our brain, and we are holding on to those toxins, and it is very dangerous. So we want to be able to promote sleep. We want to lower inflammation. We will lower cortisol. Sleep is a very big tool that we can work on. Um, if you imagine how much detoxification is, people are like, oh, I got 6 hours, what's the big deal? You're supposed to get between 7 and 9. So that delta, it's not just how many hours, it's also about the quality of sleep. But if we're not getting enough time in sustained sleep, we're not getting to that detox. And if we're losing even an hour or two per day, we're losing 14 hours or 7 hours per week of detoxification, which will accumulate over time. So when we think about, oh, it's just 30 minutes or it's just an hour, you're talking about big picture. That is a lot of hours of potential detoxification that you're not getting. So this is another reason why I really obsess about sleep and sleep promotion. And sleep disruptions are not just falling asleep or staying asleep. There's also fragmented sleep. There's REM disorders. People aren't getting significant stable sleep. They're not getting into deep sleep. Sometimes you know this because you're waking up tired, or your partner says you're snoring, or you sound like you're choking. But there's other problems with sleep that we just never know about. And so this happened to me. I didn't even know I had sleep issues until I wore a ring that watched my sleep. And I found I had a lot of sleep disorders, which were related to fragmented sleep and for many reasons. But there's different things we learn about these devices. So uh, it is not just about waking up tired, it's also about trying to quantify it. And I do encourage my patients to wear devices, even if it's short term, just to see what their sleep patterns are, so that the interventions we make, whether it's hormones or melatonin or magnesium, we can see if it's making a difference on their sleep quality. It also is directly related to weight. So I have a weight loss program in my clinic, and so one of the biggest issues I also talk about in my weight loss program is sleep, because if you are not sleeping properly, your hunger hormones and your hunger cues change. And so you are going to be hungrier. We know this, right? When was the last time you were sleep deprived and you wanted kale? Like, that just doesn't happen. We crave sugar, we crave salt, we crave comfort food. And it's not always wrong. It's just that it's a symptom. It's a sign that your body's saying something is off. And when we don't sleep, we increase our cortisol. Remember, anything that increases your cortisol long term sets off that sympathetic overdrive, right? So we want to be able to understand what physiologically is happening in our body. Also, when we're awake longer, we have more time to eat. I catch myself sometimes around 10, 10:30. All of a sudden I'm hungry. I'm not hungry. I'm tired. I just need to go to bed. So in my mind, I have to tell myself, you're not hungry. You're just tired. Go to sleep. So these are cues that our body's telling us something is off. And oftentimes it's just we need to rest. So, these are the concepts that are related to weight management when it comes to sleep. So when we are having, it's a good time to kind of segue into the obesity, visceral fat issue because having sleep disorders, having excessive cortisol for whatever reason, can cause deposition of fat in the midsection. And that fat is called visceral fat when it is not subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat is the fat that you pinch. Visceral fat is around the organs. And we have scales now, like Omron is a company that makes a scale that you can use at home that kind of monitors this visceral fat. Should be under 10%. And so excess visceral fat shows up as sometimes as a high C-reactive protein, which is a marker of inflammation, but it doesn't always. And so you can use your BMI, but it's a guide, your body mass index, which is your height weight ratio, but it's not ideal. Actually checking your fat percentage would be better. Your muscle mass content would be better. Looking for insulin resistance would be better. And seeing hormone imbalance in the body. So looking at cortisols and sex hormones like testosterone and thyroid and all of these hormones are imbalanced also when we have excess visceral fat. So remember when we have this fat, and I have a lot of people come to my mostly women who are like, what is this fat about in the midsection? Sometimes it's hormonal, menopausal, sometimes it's high cortisol, sometimes it's high insulin, but it is a symptom of something off balance. So it's important to know that sleep plays a role in this as well. So prioritize your sleep. That's the first step. Do not, we have this kind of thought process, I'll sleep when I'm dead, kind of an attitude. And we wear it as a badge of armor, like, oh, I only went on 3 hours of sleep. I'm so functional. But it is not safe for us. It is dangerous for us. It is something that we have to start prioritizing. And like I said, I really do start with something like this when I see patients, because if we're not sleeping, we're not able to follow directions on food plans. We're not able to be as active as we want. We're not able to remember things as well. We're not motivated as much to do the right thing when we're not sleeping. So these are some ideas of removing notifications, trying to remove caffeine in the afternoon, electronics 1 or 2 hours before bed. You can use glasses. I'll pull mine out later to show you guys which blue green light blocker I use. You can try to maybe read things as a book and avoid LED lights, which are terrible for our sleep-wake cycle. Avoid them in the bedrooms and decrease news feeds because I find that they're like horror shows. You don't want to go to bed anxious and worried and fearful, which is what most of the news is about. Try to get some calm thoughts, calm minds, read a romance novel, read something mystery or something that's not going to be gruesome, because it really does help our quality of our sleep. Okay, exercise. So exercise is great. We all know this. Even in when I was seeing 30 people a day, I'd tell people to exercise. Didn't really know much about the why, but we know that it's good for us. It helps with cardiovascular risk, helps with metabolism, but it helps our mood. It actually changes the way we respond to stress. It helps our memory. It raises something called BDNF. So it actually is wonderful for memory loss and preventing memory loss. It helps mobilize glucose and fat, and it helps your sleep. So the beauty of lifestyle is unlike a drug. It's not this one pill, for example, is going to do one job usually, and maybe give you three side effects in the process. But one of these interventions will hit multiple areas. So your body is just on a positive spiral as opposed to a drug that just usually does one thing. So when we see these, having a better diet will help your mood. Having a better exercise program will help your sleep. Sleeping better will help you exercise. So all of these things are related. So that's why I said think about where you want to start. There's no perfect answer. There's no one answer. It's about where you think you want to begin. Because typically, when you start doing one of these, all of the others seem to be really easy to kind of incorporate. As we age, one thing we want to do is maintain muscle mass. It is a big, big, big reason why we lose our independence, why we get diabetes. Most of glucose circulation is taken up in the muscles. So when we lose our muscle mass, which is called sarcopenia, which is muscle loss due to aging, just because we're aging. So it's these hormone changes that happen and we lose, even if I did everything the same, I slept the same, I woke up the same, I worked out the same, I ate the same, I'm going to lose muscle in a few years. So I have to work harder as I age to maintain my muscle mass and build. And so there are specific workouts that you do that are resistance based that will help muscle mass. Balance also we lose at 40, you know, almost everyone at risk for fractures is related to a fall. It's not a spontaneous fracture in most of the people that have osteoporotic fractures. It's because they fall. And so we want to maintain our balance and we want to maintain our independence, our structural independence. And we lose balance as we age. So we want to be proactive about working on things that incorporate balance, like yoga. Bone loss is another reason where we are becoming more fragile, and that's a function of also hormone changes like testosterone goes down, estrogen, progesterone goes down. These are hormones that affect bone density. So as we age and as we lose those hormones, we can start to have those issues. Lateral motion, the movement laterally is one of the things that also decreases. This is why things like Tai Chi and Qigong are also really helpful for maintenance. Slow movements help our joints stay very moving, very nicely. So flexibility, rotational movement, things that help our bone density, resistance exercises, balance exercises, So exercise is not just about running on a treadmill. Um, one of the best ways we can age better is to maintain muscle mass, do exercises, add resistance. It wasn't something I ever enjoyed. I started to do it because I saw my bone density go down as my hormones started changing. I have to do it for my muscle mass and my glucose control. But you feel better when you have more muscle mass as well. You're stronger, you're more capable. And so flexibility, rotational exercises. So exercise is not just walking on a treadmill, running on a treadmill. It's a combination of all of these type of interventions. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but you don't have to work out for an hour every week. You can incorporate some of these on a regular basis. You can also just move more. So as we're, thinking about how do I add more movement, you can do things like treadmill desks, which are a little bit better than just a sit stand desk. Sit stand desk is not as great for our metabolism. Some studies have shown it's no different than sitting. I still think there's a lot of value to standing and moving in general. But treadmill desks sometimes on Zoom calls and things is very annoying for the person on the call. So it's not easy for everyone to do. Exercise ball, I have one in my office. I sit on a ball. Most of the time I'm standing and I'm walking around with my desk. You take the stairs, walk, park farther, walk more. You can do yoga between Zoom calls, just postures, down dog. You can do just move more, and squats and stretches. And there's Dr. Zach Bush has a great 4-minute video that works on 16 different muscle groups. That is a fantastic way to increase energy and nitric oxide that I share with my patients all the time to add some of that. So, what are your goals? Maybe it's just start with walking 10 minutes, 5 minutes, get out in the sunshine. Increase your heart rate with 20 minutes of HIIT workouts, which is high intensity training. Cross train. You don't have to work out to the point where you want to vomit. That is not necessary. You can cross train, you can work out where your heart rate's at 70% of maximum. You can do a day of yoga, you can do a day of resistance, you can maybe add balance workouts and strengthening and Tai Chi and things like that to your workouts to kind of just like food, diversify it, change it up. So sun salutations are one of my favorite things to do for just waking up the posterior part, our back of our body, are they're just asleep all day because we don't use it. We don't use the muscles back there. So we start to change our posture, lung volumes start to go down because we're not working those muscles. We're also starting to get more back pain, things that are because we're just overwhelmingly supporting one side of our body. So we want to do things like stretches. I love Yoga with Adriene, which is a YouTube. It's free. You can look at this kind of map of what the sun salutations look like. You don't have to go to a yoga class or yoga studio, but just the concept of the forward fold, which is here, just wakes me up. Just doing that in between patients. Sometimes also I'll do the downward facing dog between patients. It just wakes me up because, when I'm sitting, I'm not activating any of these muscles. Okay. Dancing, also movement, also doing things like dance helps our brain. It helps, coordination of steps, learning things that are related to systems will activate parts of our brain, which keep our memory centers alive, our neuro system alive. You can learn new things as we age. So movement and dance is a wonderful way. It's fun. It's also usually social. So maybe a dance class or something that don't be shy because everyone's a beginner sometime. And so these classes are very, very fun and enjoyable. And so you can do things like that, just run, dance with your grandkids or, anything that kind of gets you moving. Okay, so let me see how much time I have. So you lower your cortisol. Remember, sympathetic system is fight or flight, adrenaline, cortisol. The rest part of rest and digest. This is the parasympathetic rest and digest. It's not just about sleep. It's also about what we're thinking about all day long. You can do yoga till the cows come home, but if you are walking around anxious and fearful all day, that is not going to work. So we want to be able to control that mind-body connection. That mind-body connection is huge in preventing chronic illness. It has been really helpful, especially in the world of memory loss and neurodegenerative. It's also great for metabolic issues, blood pressure, diabetes control, because cortisol, remember, is unchecked cortisol can turn into hypertension, can turn into hyperglycemia, can turn into immune dysfunction, where you can get an autoimmune issue from it. So all of the disease states that we see that are exploding, if we can learn to control our cortisol, we can make a big dent in there. And these are some examples. I won't go into all of them because I think I'll run out of time. But simple things like 478 breath work. We have our breathing with us all the time. You don't need a device. Your phone doesn't have to be active. You don't have to charge your phone. You don't have to pay for an app. You breathe in for 4, you hold it for 7, and you exhale for 8. Simple. You do that 5 times in a row. And it just resets us. It just calms you down. People have told me, I can't believe how easy that was. But breath work is a huge benefit. It's free. Maybe you don't necessarily need to take a class. You can do YouTube videos. You can go online and learn. But it's fun to take a class. It's fun to learn different breathing techniques. You can use breath work to wake you up. You can use breath work to help you sleep. You can use breath work when you're fearful. You can use breath work when you're anxious. You can do tapping. You can do yoga. You can do so many tools that are there. Sounds, for example, binaural beats or sounds that calm our brain down. You can walk in nature. You can walk on the grass with your shoes off. There's so many ways to calm our cortisol down or, help the body and mind and body connect. Also, just find places of quiet. So remember, it's not just about sleep. What are you feeling as you walk around all day? Do you see your thoughts going crazy? We all have about 60,000 thoughts every day, and it's absolutely very similar to yesterday. They're not actually new thoughts. So we want to basically decrease, if we can, that mental chatter, create periods of quiet and create periods of calm. How do we do that? We can do it with those techniques of breath work or meditation or walking in nature or playing an instrument if you want, but things that just kind of bring you peace. So these are also other examples of different mind-body techniques. Some of these you need appointments for, some of you don't. For these, there's very much value in anything that has to do with energy, like tapping, polyvagal exercises. There's books out there that teach you how to do that with eye movements. You can start invoking that vagal tone simply by looking in one direction for about a minute, and these are available on YouTube. But our vagus nerve, which is our 10th cranial nerve, rides with our nerves that innervate our eye. So you can activate the vagus nerve by eye movements. And so this is a very powerful tool.